bodies. So one has to reach when one goes to a transcendental planet. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 5, text 22. Continued with purport. When one goes to the transcendental planet, it is necessary to change both the finer and gross bodies, for one has to reach the spiritual sky completely in a spiritual form. This change of dress will take place automatically at the time of death if one so desires. Hmm. Bhagavad Gita confirms that one can attain his next material body according to his desires at the time he leaves his body. The desire of the mind carries the soul in a suitable atmosphere as the wind carries aromas from one place to another. Unfortunately, those are not yogis but gross materialists who throughout their lives indulge in sense gratification are puzzled by the disarrangement of the bodily and mental condition at the time of death. Such gross sensualists, encumbered by the main ideas, desires, and associations of the lives they have led, desire something against their interest and thus foolishly take on new bodies that perpetuate their material miseries. So every life we are increasing our desires because we come across more people and more experiences, and we get the knowledge that we can enjoy it in more ways, and so the desire increases. And so at the time of death we are desiring something, meditating on some sense enjoyment, and so they are puzzled by the disarrangement of the bodily and mental condition at the time of death. And so such gross sensualists, encumbered by the main ideas, desires, and associations of the lives they have led. So when they are leaving their bodies, then they feel an intense pain to be separated from all the enjoyment they had and the desires they hold on to. So they are thinking only about that. And so foolishly, they take on new bodies that perpetuate their material miseries. Systematic training of the mind and intelligence is therefore needed so that at the time of death, one may consciously desire a suitable body, either on this planet or another material planet or even a transcendental planet. A civilization that does not consider the progressive advancement of the immortal soul merely fosters a bestial life of ignorance. So it requires systematic training of mind and intelligence. Otherwise, the mind, without its being under control, is always fantasizing more and more different types of enjoyment. But the intelligence becomes sharp and very strong when we engage in Krishna consciousness, because then Krishna consciousness, so intelligence, it's buddhi yoga. We have to use our buddhi. It's not a just ritualistic thing. Rituals, you don't need to use your intelligence or mind. Simply the body has to do certain things. But Krishna consciousness is not just rituals, but we have to use our intelligence. Why am I doing it? Day after day, you're doing it. And if you're not convinced, or if you're not thinking, why am I doing this? Why am I doing arati to the Lord? Why am I cooking for him and offering it to him? When we are reflecting on why I am doing it, that is when we can control the mind, because then we are convinced that this is very important. I have to feel like a soul. I have to go to my original consciousness of being the soul and not just this body and mind. So and if you keep this training which we get because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's condensed it in the form of sutras, how to progress in spiritual life. He made Rupa Goswami, right, and Sanatan Goswami, the methodology, how to progress and what should be our state of mind, what should be our consciousness. So all these things need training. And we see a difference. Those who attend Bhakti Vrikshas, they're trained systematically. You do this, after some time you have to do this, why you have to do this, and they're taught. So then they're able to control their mind better. But those who simply go, attend and come, there's no training. They just go here, okay, that is good. They get a taste and then they keep going there, but their mind is wandering, and it is not trained how you should think, what are the attitudes, not in a systematic way. So there's hardly much progress. And then we have to the both the one it says that when one goes to a transcendental planet, it's necessary to change both the finer and gross bodies. Gross body will anyway change at death, but what about the subtle body? But that is what we are working to purify the mind, so that we only see the soul, we see ourselves. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, all the dirt from the mind has to be removed, then we can see ourselves. And it says we can immediately go to the spiritual sky, completely in a spiritual form, and this change of dress will take place automatically at the time of death if one so desires. So the key to the whole thing is our desiring. It's foolish to think that every soul that passes away goes to the same place. Either the soul goes to a place he desires at the time of death, or upon leaving his body is forced to accept a position according to his acts in his previous life. The difference between the materialist and the yogi is that a materialist cannot determine his next body, whereas a yogi can consciously attain a suitable body for enjoyment in the higher planets. Throughout his life, the gross materialist, who's constantly after sense gratification, spends all day earning his livelihood to maintain his family. And at night, he wastes his energy in sex enjoyment or else goes to sleep thinking about all he has done in the daytime. That is the monotonous life of the materialist. Although differently graded as businessmen, lawyers, politicians, professors, judges, coolies, pickpockets, laborers, and so on. Materialists all simply engage in eating, sleeping, fearing, and sense gratification, and thus spoil their valuable lives, pursuing luxury and neglecting to perfect their lives through spiritual realization. That is the gross materialist. He is just thinking only of sense gratification. That is the religion. Yogis, however, try to perfect their lives. And therefore, Bhagavad Gita enjoins that everyone should become a yogi. Yogi is the system for linking the soul in the service of the Lord. Only under superior guidance can one practice such yoga in this life, in his life, without changing his social position. So that is very clear here. You need superior guidance so that you can practice yoga in life without having to change your social position. That is Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. I mean that as well as the ashramas. You don't have to change anything. As already described, a yogi can go anywhere it desires without mechanical help. For a yogi, for a yogi, he can place his mind and intelligence within the air circulating inside his body, and by practicing the art of breath control, he can mix that air with the air that blows all over the universe outside his body. With the help of this universal air, a yogi can travel to any planet and get a body suitable for its atmosphere. We can understand this process by comparing it to the electronic transmission of radio messages. With radio transmitters, sound waves produced at a certain station can travel all over the earth in seconds. But sound is produced from the ethereal sky. And as already explained, subtler than the ethereal sky is the mind, and finer than the mind is the intelligence. Spirit is still finer than the intelligence, and by nature it is completely different from the matter. Thus, we can just imagine how quickly the spirit soul can travel through the universal atmosphere. So, mind even takes some a moment. You suppose I'm thinking of Swargaloka. I can be there mentally in a moment's time. But soul is even finer than mind. So you just decide, I want to be there, you're there. Like Narada Muni, he is a space traveler. Sometimes he travels also singing and dancing and going, but it's not even required like that. Suppose he decides, okay, let me go to Brahmaloka. Immediately he'll be there. So that is the power of space travel for a yogi. Like all these, even here on the earth, there are these Babajis in the Himalayas, Naga Babas, mm, and what else are they called? And so they meditate, and they don't want to be part of society. They don't want to talk with the ordinary people. So they are far away somewhere. You can't even see them. Otherwise, people will go and inquire and talk to them. They don't want that. And only during this Kumbh Mela time, the government also keeps one particular section for them where no one else can go. And suddenly they will appear. From nowhere, they will appear, have the bath, and go away, disappear. And Prabhupada mentions how they can just like, they'll get down into the Ganga there in the Himalayas. And by meditation, they can appear in the Ganga in the Kumbh Mela, have a bath. And because this particular, at the Kumbh Mela, at that particular time, very auspicious, so they have that and quickly disappear. So all these, I mean, yoga has got all these mystic powers because spirit is still finer than the intelligence, and by nature it's completely different from matter. Thus, we can just imagine how quickly the spirit soul can travel through the universal atmosphere. And that is why, because of lack of spiritual advancement, people don't have any faith in God's powers. God can do anything. He's completely spiritual. And not only that, he's got material energy also under him. All the material things in the world are also working under his direction. And he is spirit, soul, and soul can do anything. Even ordinary soul yogis can do many, many things. Then why can't Krishna do? And people doubt. Like yesterday, I was talking to some devotees and they were saying they're feeling so bad about Bangladesh. There were two Bangladeshis and they were saying that, my relatives are there and so I don't know what to tell them and all that. They are feeling so lost. I said, no, they should take shelter of Krishna. Krishna can do anything. I mean, at least, you are protected. Definitely, he protects. And even if they die, they'll go back to God if they're surrendered to Krishna because he will. I mean, sometimes maybe a few devotees, when they're trying to protect the deities or something, they were killed. And devotees get disturbed. Oh, why? The thing is, you'll go back to Godhead. If you're serving Krishna and you're killed, you go back to Godhead. So they are protected. And like they felt, of course, materially speaking, it seems a hopeless situation over there now because nobody has any control over that country. People are just doing looting, arson, everything is going on. And there doesn't seem to be any relief in the near future. Whoever comes to power will be totally under the control of the mobs. So I don't know. I mean, materially speaking, it seems like a horrible situation there. But who knows if they take shelter, at least those devotees, if they chant Hare Krishna and keep on, doing Sankirtana Yajna and pray to the Lord, who knows? He can do anything. That is because spirit soul is very fine. It can do anything. And Krishna is the super fine person. He's all pervading. He can do anything. If we know that, then we will not be disturbed. We'll depend on Krishna and we leave it to him. He knows he wants to protect them, but in Kali Yuga, we are living coexisting with demons. Okay, everybody's got some little bit of demonic quality, maybe, I mean, materialism, all this Maya is there. But there are people who are totally averse to devotional service to God, and they want to stop others, or they think they are the best and everybody else. It is coming from false ego, and that my religion is the best. Everybody else is to either follow me or perish. And so the only so we have to take shelter of the superior power, and that is the Lord. To come to the stage of manipulating finer elements like mind, intelligence, and spirit, one needs appropriate training, an appropriate mode of life, and an appropriate association. Such training depends upon sincere prayers, devotional service, achievement of success and mystic perfection, and the successful merging of oneself in the activities of the soul and super soul. A gross materialist, whether he be an empiric philosopher, a scientist, a psychologist, or whatever, cannot attain such success through blunt efforts and word jugglery. So when you're materialistic, you think it's all happening because of my efforts. I have to do something. Mode of passion. A gross materialist, whether he be an empiric philosopher, scientist, psychologist, or whatever, cannot attain such success of yogic perfection. He cannot do all that. Manipulating finer elements like mind, intelligence, and spirit, one needs appropriate training. And that comes, whatever cannot attain such success through blunt efforts and word juggling. So, to manipulate the mind, intelligence, and spirit. And what is that? Appropriate mode of life. And that is what? Bhakti yoga. Yoga to connect with the Lord. And such training depends upon sincere prayers, devotional service, achievement of success and mystic perfection, and the successful merging of oneself in the activities of the soul and super soul. So we have to first realize I am a soul, I'm not this body. And I am completely dependent on my relationship with the super soul. Super soul is who's doing everything, giving me, he is all, everything. From me comes knowledge, forgetfulness, memory. From I am intelligence in man, I am ability in man. And as Paramatma, he says that I am the one who, you know, um, giving everything, knowledge, intelligence, and he is the chief doer of all activities. We have to work, we are working in cooperation with the super soul, but we don't know that. Without his sanction, we cannot do anything. And always, we don't even acknowledge, even those who take shelter or help from the Lord, when the work becomes fine, then they forget about him. I only did it, we claim. But actually, all activities are happening when it happens in cooperation with the Lord, when we understand I'm not this body, I'm the soul. I'm the person in the body, not the body itself. And the Paramatma, Kshetra, Kshetrajna, both are there. And the body is simply a Kshetra or a place where they're residing. It's like a house. And the soul and the super soul are living inside that house. That is the level of realization we should get through doing devotional service. And materialists who perform yajnas or great sacrifices are comparatively better than gross materialists who do not know anything beyond laboratories and test tubes. The advanced materialists who perform such sacrifices can reach the planet called Vaishvanara, a fiery planet similar to the sun. On this planet, which is situated on the way to Brahmaloka, the topmost planet in the universe, such an advanced materialist can free himself from all traces of vice and its effects. When such a materialist is purified, he can rise to the orbit of the pole star, Dhruvaloka. Within this orbit, which is called the Shishumara Chakra, are situated the Aditya Lokas and the Vaikuntha planet within this universe. See how many options are there. It's mind boggling. So there are, Krishna is so concerned about every living entity, whatever different categories. So there are materialists. But they perform yajnas. So they are better. So yajna is so powerful. Even a materialist, he, even if it's only, no, it doesn't have faith in God, but he has faith in performing the sacrifices, then he can get to the planet called Vaishvanara, similar fiery planet like the sun. And it is below Brahmaloka, on the way to Brahmaloka, the topmost planet in the universe. And in Vaishvanara planet, he can free himself from all traces of vice and its effect. And when such a materialist is purified, he can rise to the orbit of the pole star, Dhruvaloka. Within this orbit, which is called the Shishumara Chakra, are situated the Aditya Lokas and Vaikuntha planet within this universe. That is the Shvetadvipa, Vaikuntha planet, which is like an embassy of Vaikuntha. That is also considered one of the Divya Deshams. In fact, the 108 Divya Deshams, we have all the different temples on the earth. And one is this Shvetadvipa, Vaikuntha planet of Vishnu. And this material world, that's also a Divya Desham. I don't know, nobody can would have gone to all 108 because that place, you have to become very elevated to go there. A purified materialist who has performed many sacrifices, undergone severe penances, and given the major portion of his wealth and charity, can reach such planets as Dhruvaloka. And if he becomes still more qualified there, he can penetrate still higher orbits and pass through the navel of the universe to reach the planet Maharloka, where sages like Bhrigu Muni live. In Maharloka, one can live even to the time of the partial annihilation of the universe. This annihilation begins when Anantadeva, from the lowest position of the universe, produces a great blazing fire. The heat of this fire reaches even Maharloka, and then the residents of Maharloka travel to Brahmaloka, which exists for twice the duration of Pararda time. In Brahmaloka, there is an unlimited number of airplanes that are controlled not by yantra or machine, but mantra, psychic action. So when if somebody asks you, what is the proof? I mean, you mean to say they had petrol and they had these kind of airplanes? No, sir. This is yantra, and that is runs on mantra, psychic action. Because of the existence of the because the existence of the mind and intelligence on Brahmaloka, its residents have feelings of happiness and distress, but there is no cause of lamentation from old age, death, fear, or distress. They feel sympathy, however, for the suffering living beings who are consumed in the fire of annihilation. The residents of Brahmaloka do not have gross material bodies to change at death, but they transform their subtle bodies into the spiritual bodies and thus enter the spiritual sky. The residents of Brahmaloka can attain perfection in three different ways. Virtuous persons who reach Brahmaloka by dint of their pious work become masters of various planets. After the resurrection of Brahma, those who worshipped. So, when Brahma leaves the planet, then what happens? Who reach Brahmaloka by dint of their pious work become masters of various planets after the resurrection of Brahma. Those who worship Garbhodakshai Vishnu are liberated with Brahma. And those who are pure devotees of the personality of Godhead at once pushed through the covering of the universe and enter the spiritual sky. So from the same loka also there are different categories of people leaving the body differently. So the residents of Brahmaloka can attain perfection in three different ways. Pious people who reach Brahmaloka by dint of their pious work become masters of various planets after the resurrection of Brahma. And then those who worship Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So one is pious work, and they get material benediction of being masters of different planets. And those who worship Garbhodakshai Vishnu are liberated with Brahma. They go back to Godhead. And those who are pure devotees of the personality of Godhead at once push through the covering of the universe and enter the spiritual sky. The numberless universes exist together in her foam-like clusters, and so only some of them are surrounded by the water of the causal ocean. When agitated by the glance of Karanodakshai Vishnu, material nature produces the total elements, which are 8 in number, and which gradually evolve from finer to gross. A part of ego is the sky, a part of which is air, a part of which is fire, part of which is water, a part of which is earth. Thus, one universe inflates to an area of 4 billion miles in diameter. 4 billion miles, that is the diameter of the universe. Thus, one universe inflates to an area of 4 billion miles in diameter. A yogi who desires gradual liberation must penetrate all the different coverings of the universe, including the subtle coverings of the three qualitative modes of material nature. One who does this never has to return to this material world. So that is why we have different sages living in different, even Bhrigu Muni is still living in Maharloka. They want to go slowly. Different a yogi who desires gradual liberation must penetrate all the different coverings of the universe. What are the different coverings? First covering is Earth, and that goes on for billions of miles. Then the next covering is what? Earth comes water. So that water covering is 10 times bigger than the covering of the Earth. So like this, Earth, water, fire also it is this thing, element of the, it's a covering of the universe. All the 8 coverings are there of this universe. And a yogi has to go through all these coverings before he comes to the final point, false ego, that covering. And a yogi who desires gradual liberation must penetrate all the different coverings of the universe, including the subtle coverings of the 3 qualitative modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. One who does this never has to return to his mortal world. According to Sukadeva Goswami, the above description of the material and spiritual skies is neither imaginary nor utopian. The actual facts are recorded in the Vedic hymns, and Lord Vasudeva disclosed them to Lord Brahma when Brahma satisfied him. One can achieve the perfection of life only when he has a definite idea of Vaikuntha and the Supreme Godhead. One should always think about and describe the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for this is recommended both in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavata Purana, which are 2 authorized commentaries upon the Vedas. Lord Chaitanya has made all these subject matters easier for the fallen people of this age to accept, and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita has therefore presented them for the easy understanding of all concerned. It's a fact that for us, very easy to make a choice. Now we are not thinking, oh, shall I go slowly to Marloka and then, grab slow, like then I'll do a lot of pious activities and keep on progressing from one level to another. Or, I mean, the Garbhodakshay Vishnu, Sahasra Shirsha Purusha, he is being worshipped in Brahmaloka because Brahma appeared from Garbhodakshay Vishnu. So he's considers him his father. And that is the form that is being worshipped in Brahmaloka. So if somebody is worshipping Garbhodakshay Vishnu, then he will become liberated. Or higher than that is, of course, a pure devotee who completely surrenders to Vasudeva, then he also can be liberated. So we are not thinking, okay, maybe I can worship Garbhodakshay Vishnu and then I'll go to Satya Loka, and slowly when Brahmaji goes, I'll also go with him automatically. We don't have any such options. We are only Bhagavata Purana talks only about complete surrender to Krishna and getting liberated. And Srila Prabhupada is hurting us all the time, telling how Krishna is the supreme Sarvadharman Parityajya, again and again and again, that we'll never dream, oh no, I will not, I don't want to go back, to any material planet. And then after that also, why do we have to go through all these coverings? Because in those coverings also people are living there. And there'll be varieties of enjoyment. And if we think, oh, I've never imagined like this also people are living and they are enjoying. I have never witnessed this. How nice. What must be, they must be enjoying themselves. If we have such ideas, immediately we'll be deplaned. Okay, stay there and enjoy. And then we'll think, oh, what a mistake I did. What will I do over here? Even in those topmost planets, okay, they are more aware than us. The mode of goodness is predominant, and here mode of passion is. Very few people even agree to acknowledge, that, we need to, what's the purpose of life, and that we need to go back to Godhead. So it's a big thing, and in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that one who's doing yoga if he falls down also, he comes to sensory consciousness. Then what Krishna does is he gives him more material facilities so that he can burn up his desires. So that is why the fallen yogi is born um, in a family where they are very rich mercantile family, or if he has done more devotional service, then he is born into a transcendentalist. I mean, where everybody is very godly and like that, at least. So by when we know that if we do devotional service, and if you are not complete, your desires also will be fulfilled. At the same time, you'll also make spiritual progress. So this is the one thing, foolproof method to advance in. Okay, you want some sense enjoyment according to the Shastras. At the same time, it you have to do according to what Krishna wants. That's the only difficulty. Then we can be liberal. Chaitanya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why did he say that? It was a Brahma Samhita being explained. Okay, Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Then with Pranam.
Mataji, today we are visiting this old age home, Mataji. So, what we can give them prasadam, Mataji, today? We did not ready any prasadam today.
What time are you going?
After prasadam, like 9:30, 10 a.m.